I don't like myself that much.
Well, and now that's the beginning of this episode because I just hit record. Welcome to the Fireground Training Kitchen Table Talk for Friday, March 7th, where we're starting with therapy for Chad. Not physical therapy, that's coming, but
It will be coming.
Jeez, I didn't mean. I was even thinking to myself, I'm not going to say anything about what happened. I'm just going to breeze over it. But also, for what it's worth, at least you were on a call that sounded pretty potentially serious. So, if you're going to be laid up for a while with a broken, which one?
Fibula.
Which one?
The F one.
The F one. Oh, back. You said tibia when you texted me. Your wife said it was
I have no idea.
Okay. Well, one of the leg bones.
Yeah.
Bad
one of those leg bones.
Oh God, we started with EMS again. Son of a. So starting with EMS, actually, yeah. Jokingly, partially. Let me fibula. Yeah. Did somebody say fibia, Mike? Or were you just typing fibula just so everybody knew what it was?
Just trying to help you out.
Oh, hey, I appreciate that. All right, so we'll go around.
Are we playing Hangman now?
Yeah. It was actually Jeopardy.
One's a fire medic, one's a real medic.
Oh, wow. You're not wrong, though. So anyway, welcome to the kitchen table. If this isn't accurate, every week it just gets more and more accurate to what a real firehouse kitchen table is like when we start out on a complete random note and don't necessarily have a topic to start with. We actually have some good topics for tonight. So we'll go around the room and introduce everybody. I think everybody's been here before, which is awesome. I'll start with my crew, Chad Eichel, various titles with Fireground Training Bureau, and go ahead with your usual spiel. Make your spiel different this time. Give us the fun fact about yourself.
2 truths and a lie.
2 truths and a lie, yes! This is so lame.
Fun fact.
Okay.
I'm married. I don't know. Fun fact, I'm Chad. I'm from Providence Township. I'm a captain. That's it.
And I just broke my fibula.
In a gopher hole.
In a gopher hole.
Those damn gophers. You want me to kill the gophers?
Kill all the gophers.
It's like an episode of Caddyshack.
Mike Lord.
Hello. Mike Lord. Rossford Fire. White House, Lake, Providence. I could keep going. Just kidding.
Thanks, guy. I must love you. Or you must love yourself.
Are we supposed to be saying fun facts about ourselves?
Sure. Is that fun facts, 2 truths and a lie, whatever. We're kind
of fun fact. I can make a mean taco salad.
That was mine.
Yeah. See? Yeah.
Is Scott writing his fun fact in the background? Scott's up next. I was just seeing like a whiteboard. I'm like, I don't know. I didn't catch it.
No, that's I'm in the basement where we grow some indoor flowers and we're getting ready to start that. My name is Scott Schuler. I'm a retired law enforcement officer, 26 years, former fire chief. I'm from Indiana, Pennsylvania.
Scott, is it actually indoor flowers or is that what we're calling it? Indoor flowers.
Well, take out
Weird that you're in the basement. I would have figured you'd be higher.
Oh my God.
Kidding. That's terrible. Scott's not going to be on anymore because we're suggesting that he's not just growing flowers. Always good to see you. Beak.
Who?
Beakus? Beak?
The
Beak? The one, the only?
Good evening.
How are you, sir?
Good. How about yourselves?
Oh, I'm fantastic. I'm about to be caffeinated.
David Beakus. I'm a captain with Waterville Fire. Also help out on White House Fire on occasionally. And Chad, what happened to the tib?
I fell in a gopher hole on a run.
Okay.
Do you need to explain the background of the run though? Does that? I feel like that makes it better. let's just say.
Don't kill the story.
Oh, my best
It's-
with you.
What's that?
I said my best thoughts are with Chad.
Oh,
That's
Thank you.
improved.
my best thoughts are with the gopher. His home was ruined.
My best
that is-
thoughts are with his wife because he's a wuss and she's gonna have to nursemaid him for the next 2 months.
Oh my god! For the quietest guy in every week.
Uncle Tony's coming for the throat on that.
No kidding, man.
I didn't make the medic comment, Mike. Don't throw me under the bus.
Tony's got to go for the throat. He can't go for the leg. It's already taken. Logan.
I am Logan, Providence Township, Springfield, and Monclova. And if you really want a fun fact, I am left-handed.
You guys are just full of fun, exciting facts today. Watch out with this group. What? Also, welcome, Logan. Glad to have you back. Jason Francis.
Hello, all. I'm Jason Francis. I'm the Deputy Chief with White House Fire. And I am also left-handed, just like Logan. So for all you haters out there, left is right, right is wrong. And Chad, what version were you watching Caddyshack before you were going in the gopher hole?
I was trying to. Although I've never made it all the way through Caddyshack, I will admit that.
What?
Oh, dude, don't even get started on it. He's never seen Caddyshack, Blazing Saddles.
Can we vote him off the island?
House.
Wow.
Okay, I'm not usually the kind of guy that's like, if you haven't seen a certain movie,
Yeah,
but
well,
like,
he hasn't seen the trifecta of
come on.
80s comedy.
I've
You
seen
play-
Blazing Saddles.
Next, you're
Oh.
gonna say you've never seen Top Gun.
I've seen Top Gun.
Okay.
I do, however, hate Tom Cruise.
That's okay as long as you've seen Top Gun.
That's okay.
But I didn't say I haven't seen Caddyshack. I just haven't made it all the way through.
That's almost worse. That's almost worse. Did you fall asleep or did you not like it?
Tell him, Chad, I didn't find it very amusing. Quote.
I did not find it very amusing. And quote, like Tony said.
All right. Reassess our friendship. Who else? Marco. If Marco feels like giving us a
Hello?
quick introduction, I knew somebody was going to do that as soon as I held Marco. All right, Marco, we'll come back to you if you want to introduce yourself. Ben Wilson, welcome back. Not everyone at once, please.
Ben still has that bad internet.
Yeah, probably, but he's got that sweet mustache. And last but not least, since I forgot to introduce, oh no, second to last, but definitely least, Kevin Mcnutt.
I don't know if I should feel hurt or not.
Nice soapbox.
Just for you, buddy.
Oh, I'll get there tonight.
I'm Kevin Mcnutt. I'm a captain with White House Fire. Fun fact, I'm right-handed, so right is right. It's in the title already.
Nice try. Doesn't work.
I'm amphibious. Dan Turner just jumped on. Also, Fireground Training Bureau member and probably at a different firehouse every time we see him. Same one?
You don't got to do that to me. So
sorry to rub it in.
I'm working tonight, but my name's Dan Turner. I work for Fireground Training. I also work for Loudoun County Fire Rescue in Loudoun County, Virginia. And I'm a lieutenant with the Independent Fire Company in Ranson, West Virginia.
And if you are listening to the podcast later, Dan is just wandering around the apparatus bay at his station that is very dimly lit. And it's kind of creepy. Like if they had a GoPro attached to the serial killer in a horror movie, it kind of looks like that right now. So just close your eyes, picture that.
What's the red lights?
They just stay on the whole time.
Oh.
Yeah. But yeah,
for his
just
hand.
like all talk. The entire time we're talking, I just walk around.
You do like to walk around while we're doing this, don't you?
Yeah.
It does
I just
look
can't
like,
say-
like
What?
I'm
it
too
does
lazy
look
to
like
hold
he
my
has
phone.
like a chest cam, like he's
It is very steady, all things considered.
Like it's steady cam. That's what they're called.
Yeah.
The red lights make his collared shirt look like an ascot.
I think it is an
It's
ascot.
My
It's his mask.
yeah.
Oh.
For safety.
He's on Survivor.
Yeah, for the people.
It's no longer a neck gaiter, it's a buff. Because you're on Survivor.
All this time, Freddy from Scooby-Doo was ahead of the game. And now, last but not least, because I forgot to introduce him last week, because I always forget somebody, Mike Green.
Hey.
Only the person I probably know the longest on this whole thing. Sure.
I'm from Perrysburg Township, also Pro Medica. And I'm right-handed.
I love how we just went into is everybody left-handed or right-handed? This feels like a crappy class.
I am
your
also
substitute
right-handed.
teacher. I'm also right-handed. I'm not amphibious.
I'm ambidextrous in certain tasks.
Oh, that sounds right.
Tony beat me to it.
And we're off. So the reason I picked Mike to go last in the introduction is his topic is going to be the first one we talk about tonight. Did you just groan when I said that? What? Did you not want me to say it was your idea?
Yeah, well, I
Cat's
don't
out of the
know.
bag.
Yeah, I don't know which topic should go first. 'Cause I feel like I know we talked at dinner, but I feel like I split it into two categories, and maybe it's kind of like two subsets of the same question.
Well, give us the two categories then, because you and I talked, but these people have no idea what we're talking about yet.
So the first, what we were talking about was, where do you think the fire passion has gone? And you see people show up and they hate to be there. They pretty much counting the time till they leave. Is that a generational thing? Is it a COVID thing? Is it a, I don't know, been there too long type thing? And then the other part B of my question is, and I feel like it's the same question, is why is this become a 9-to-5 place? Why is this become as soon as the time's done, I'm out the door? Or the people who are 659ers, and as soon as they walk in at 59 and they leave at 7:00. What is that, and why has it changed? Because I know people have said that they sit and talk for hours, but now it's like, I can't wait to leave. I guess I turn it to the conversation to you guys, see what your guys' thoughts are.
I kind of want to start with the 9-to-5 one, because I think that's something that, they're both very related, but the change of the fire service to having scheduled shifts, even on the volunteer side, how has that changed the way we interact with each other and the way we hang out after calls or whatever else? Or are people and Mike, I'll pick on you just because you're a good example, even though you're not somebody who's lost their passion for the fire service by any stretch, but you work at several different departments and that became your full-time job. So this whole idea of, you can leave your full-time job, quote unquote, and then go home and then take volunteer calls. Well, no, you're going from a 12-hour shift to Department A to a 12-hour shift to Department B to a 12-hour shift to Department C. How are you supposed to have time to be a home response?
That's a very good point. And I feel like, I don't know, when you start, you're young, you want to be there all the time. You want to get as much experience, and then you realize, oh shit, you got bills now. And you don't want to go on the 4 a.m. call that's going to get you $18. And you got to have to make the adult choices of getting a job and making those decisions, and then changing your, what do you want to say, your time available, I guess. I don't know. I don't know if that helps you.
Yeah,
and I guess it maybe just for me, when we first started and when you joined, we'd be up there till like 2 o'clock in the morning, just doing random stuff. Then we'd go to, like we talked about before, we'd go to Denny's after a dumb EMS call, or after we did a structure fire, and we talk with Rossford guys and Northwood guys. I mean, I know COVID's kind of prevented that, but there's not like the next, I don't want to say the next class, but like the next group of them. Where's
like
that
the next
group?
generation of,
Yeah.
I mean, the next, yeah. Because I mean, we're at the point where we're, like, I hate to say it, but we're getting old. I mean, we were in our early 20s when we were doing that. And some people were even, I mean, you were younger than that. I mean, maybe for some of you guys that have been on even long. I mean, I'm only into my 11th year in the fire service, combined volunteer and career, but that's where I look and go, well, maybe it's just the fact that life catches up with you. Like, you don't have as much time, you know, you're settling down, or you do have a different full-time job, or you do have multiple part-time jobs, or, you know, but then I look at some of these guys that guys and girls that have gone through all of the life changes and are still super around all the time. You know, Rick Vasic from Rossford is one of them that I always think about, because he was always at the station. He worked like 12-hour shifts at the hospital, you know, and he would come to runs all day long. And it's like, how do you do that? And Dan's got his hand up.
So, fellas, one of our battalion chiefs here just retired recently, and he wrote a big email to the department on his way out. And that sounds scary. We're like, oh shit, he just tore everybody
yes.
out. But really what it was him reflecting back. It was his time. It was 35 years or so with Loudoun County Fire and Rescue. And he said when he first joined as a volunteer, there was a wait list of 2 years. Like, they did not have room for him on the department, and he had to wait in order to get a spot. And I think there's, you know, like, the community took a lot of pride in being in the fire department. It was just so much esteem circled around being a member of the fire department. And I think we've lost some of that. I'm not really sure how or what happened. That, you know, maybe it's some loss of public trust somehow. I'm not quite sure. But I think that kind of goes in hand with what Mike's saying. You know, at the time, there's just this, again, like I said, like this aura around being a member of the fire department that I think has been lost. I mean, does that hurt, I think, our recruitment now? Does that hurt our, you know, self-image and our want to hang out at the firehouse and our want to take care of the apparatus, take care of the tools, and take care of all the other, you know, stuff? Yeah, I mean, I think so. I mean, you know, you got into the firehouse before to do all that stuff by doing all of that stuff, by taking care of the apparatus, you know, by showing that if we let you on, you would be, you know, you were going to do all these things. But now it seems like, I don't want to say now we let everybody on, you know, we'll let anybody on, but for the most part, you know, there's not that anymore. You don't have to want it anymore. You have to want it, but not like really want it. You know, and be willing to wait on the list for 2 years.
So yeah, I was going to say, let me pull that part out of it, because as we look at, you know, let's start in the volunteer, part-time, part paid, whatever you want to call it world, with run volume increasing and with recruitment and retention being so much more challenging, you know, is that, I don't even want to say lowering the standard, but essentially, I mean, maybe there's not a better way to put it than that. Are we really just like looking and going, you know what, we need people, and we don't hold them to the same account, or we're not looking for the same passion, or is that putting the takeaway in the wrong spot? Josh,
is it a lack?
Oh, go ahead, Chad. Go for it. Then we'll get to.
Is it a lack of self-pride, or pride in what your name is behind?
Could be.
Potentially, and I think that's maybe something that we need to ingrain in our members from day one, you know, and that needs to be from the absolute top down. You know, they need to see that every part of this organization takes pride in doing, you know, aggressive work and taking care of the equipment, taking care of the firehouse, you know, and making it a place that I wouldn't say is like a zero fail, but for the most part, we will not fail. You know, there's things that are sometimes out of our control, but we will not fail because we are dedicated, well-trained, and well-equipped.
I think some of it too comes down to what was our story that got us here. Like what is the reason we came into the fire service? And so I'll turn to somebody who used to ride his bike to the fire station, Chief Druid. What's your take, Josh?
I think it's kind of a potpourri of things, to be honest with you. I think that the first one is definitely the call volume. When I got on 30 some years ago, we were doing 200 runs a year, 250. So you weren't even one time a day going down there. And of course, it's completely topsy-turvy now. And the other thing, and it's no slam, I think Mike Lord's in here. I don't think I have any of the roster people in here right now. But the other thing that
I'm here.
in my own personal opinion is that the people don't really have roots here. They didn't grow up here. They come here looking for the job.
Oh, that's a good one.
And they show up and they do their job, but I'm just here for the job. I didn't grow up here. I don't know any, Barrett, I think right before you guys got on the first time, I don't know if we had any Vidras on, but we used to have Vidras and lighters and, there were names of people that had generations in there or family members, and they, of course, worked in the community. And I think that it was just a little more community oriented to a certain degree. It's not that our current members don't care.
Mm-hmm.
They just aren't as ingrained in the fabric of the town, I think, is part of it.
Well, and I think too, that was an interesting thing for me being from, and since this is kind of wider than Northwest Ohio, being from Perrysburg, which is, on the border of, the neighboring town of Rossford, and then coming into Rossford for the job, really, for getting on quicker than another department was going to be, then I felt like I became part of the Rossford community, and it was really hard to leave that community because being on the fire department, I'd become part of it. But yeah, I think there's still a disconnect with some people that don't feel like they have become part of that community, even if they are from the outside, or maybe some of that small townness that I've heard from other departments that like, oh, I just never felt like I fit in, or, I think there's 100 different variables here. But Kevin, let's hear your take. You had your hand up, hopefully. You might be muted still.
Cap, I know you're in the
There he goes.
gulag.
No, I'm not in the gulag. I'm in the laundry log. My take was kind of like around what Chief Druid was saying. Is I'm a kid who grew up around a fire station. My dad started in '80 with White House as a volunteer. I was born in '81, and he retired in 2016, serving on the same department. And just watching the culture shift through our department alone over the years, it doesn't seem as family as it used to be. Like we used to, every year we throw a fire department picnic for family and everybody to show up to. And it was a huge party and everybody showed up. And there over the last 10 years, we would throw the party and 5 people would show up, and just slower. Everybody's gotten busier. Our run volume's gotten higher. Back when it was a big deal, it was a small town that everybody was pitching in to help out. It was 75 calls a year, maybe 100. That was a busy year for them. So that community pride was there. But that was back when we were 1,500 people. Now we're over 5,000.
Yeah.
So the whole scene has changed to us. So, like kind of tailing on Chief Druid, now the people we're pulling in aren't necessarily people from White House. And then you also got like the 18, 19-year-olds who want to branch out and go out on their own and be a member and would like to help out their community, but they can't afford the prices of our houses at, the basic jobs they can get as 18 and 19-year-old. So then we lose them that way too, as far as volunteer side, because while they're trying to branch out, try to find somewhere to live, and it's not cost effective for them to try to be able to pull it off in communities like ours. So that's my take.
And let me pose this question. So we've seen the fire service change from a community organization, like in the volunteer part paid world, the career departments, or as those smaller departments that used to be volunteer or were more combination than full-time, as we've seen this transition from volunteer, like camaraderie driven, community organization where most of it's about hanging out and enjoying each other's company. And they're still learning about the fire service, but you'd go down and just play cards in the engine house. to just hang out with the guys into the professional fire service that the community has kind of expected from us, or the needs and the runs have necessitated from us to go from, you know, a volunteer department doing a call a day to a part-time or full-time department doing 10 runs a day. Is this just a side effect of that?
Barrett, what a great shirt.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think some of it is, Barrett. Because like you said, the fire service volunteer side was community pride and guys trying to hang out. I mean, that's another history lesson part. My father was a chief once before he was a chief of White House. He actually started a fire department in Eastern Ohio because he saw a need for it because their closest entity was like 15 minutes away for the closest engine response. And kind of after a major building in town burnt down, they kind of went, hey, we need a department. So he went to a men's club and turned them into a fire department.
Dang.
So, I mean, like you said, he took a bunch of guys that were looking for a reason to hang out and repurposed them. But it still gave them the chance to hang out. They just got to hang out and talk about firefighting instead of, you know, whatever field they were plowing.
And I was going to say, I mean, just, you know, a lot of people point to the training requirements and the, you know, the minimum requirements and the minimum run volume or the minimum training commitment just to drill. And like, obviously it's out of necessity, but also, and Kevin, maybe you or Beakus or even Jason, Josh, a couple of you guys that have been in, Scott, that have been in a long time compared to, you know, my relative short time in the fire service, has that, when it was go hang out at the engine house and just have a good time, I got to imagine that just by having these kind of conversations, you were learning a bunch, even if it wasn't formal training. But has the amount of formal training hampered the ability to just hang out with each other, ignoring the necessity or whatever of it, like ignoring that part of it, but just flat out yes or no? If we
to an extent,
less training, which is horrible to say in a training podcast.
Not less training necessarily. It's just how formal versus informal training. I know you spoke about sometimes like team building and stuff like that isn't necessarily training me for what I need to do, but it does build the person to actually want to come there and be part of the group and understand each other. It's the same thing of I have part-timers on my roster that never show up to a drill at White House. I have every confidence in the planet that they can do their job, but I also have every confidence in the planet that when we go to a structure fire and my volunteers show up and this is the first time they've met the guy, they're not going to have confidence in them to go into a structure. So that team building would actually, you know, bring the family a little bit closer together.
Yeah.
Yes. This thought. Sorry, go ahead, Chief.
Yeah, I'm not trying to. Yeah, sorry about that, Mike. I didn't mean to cut you off. Yeah, I think that we still get a pretty good amount of, I don't know if you want to call it after hours traffic or people hanging out. That really started really with, I think, Barrett and Dan, and when they first got on the second time, that they really fostered just hanging out and either shooting the breeze or watching a video, or I think that's really what kind of started to ingrain that a little bit, or get people to understand they can hang out. Because again, if you're at the station, a call comes in, you're out the door just that much faster. And it still goes on to this day. I think that's a good thing. So I don't really know if the formal training teeter-totters that. The other thing that I just noticed again through all my years of being there is that I don't think I've ever seen one of our people ever pick up a periodical that's ever down there. I'm always stymied by that, especially the people that it's not in their, you know, their full-time or part-time vocation kind of thing. And I don't know, I don't get it sometimes, but that's all I got for now.
Well, it's funny because Dan and I went to talk to Mike on a day shift a couple weeks ago, and we accidentally started quizzing one of the rookies and went out and started like going over stuff in the rig, and we're all of a sudden like it hit us. It's like, we don't work here anymore.
Yeah,
but
all I asked them was to give me something to quiz him on for the day. But
we were there for like an extra 2 hours.
Oh yeah. But I think
that was instilled in us. I mean, that was the way the way we were taught was make use of your time at the engine house. And
I think that's a nice thing we do over here at Rossford is like we try to maintain that atmosphere that like you don't have to worry about whoever's on shift. You can just walk in and hang out. You know, nobody really complains about having people show up. I know at Providence, I can expect Chad and Ashley to show up if I'm there after Chad gets home from work. You know, they're gonna stop and say hi, and I think that's just something the department or in-house that has to be done. Is that there is that everybody knows if I just need to go hang out, go hang out. I know we've even done nights where we're like, hey, dude, we're going to play video games upstairs. And none of us are on shift playing video games, but we're all just hanging out together. And I know like we've been trying Monday nights after drill to hang out after drill, just to do more social stuff between us, which then it starts there is just building that morale with us. And then it kind of pushes more in the future.
I think we got a couple comments on Facebook I'm gonna hit real quick, and then Matt and Dan, I'll get back to you guys. But Shane Jenkins posted, it starts from the top down. If your officers don't show the Joes the pride of the job, the tradition will be lost. And I hear that, but also hearing from Mike, what you just said, from what we've experienced, I think there's a lot you can do from the bottom up. Like, yes, ultimately you need the support of your leadership to have an organization where you can just pop in and hang out with the crew that's on duty, or hang out, without somebody looking at you like, what the hell are you doing here? But also you have to have the people that want to come in and hang out. And even if that means, like I said, or like you just said, Mike, of course I'm thinking from a training perspective where I'm nerding out because it's like the whatever anniversary of the weekend that we spent the day, the morning, just going from different company officers house to house with their permission and running lines to the front door. And that was a blast. It was like one of my favorite Saturday morning things I've ever done. But also, yeah, the number of days that we'd go up to Spencer. My brother was the training lieutenant on Spencer Township, and I didn't even work there. And I would stay there after we did drill on a night. I would stay there until 3, 4, 5 in the morning, and we'd be playing video games or watching stupid YouTube videos or whatever. And it was just like, you couldn't beat the camaraderie. And that's one of the things I've always loved about, I always half jokingly called Rossford my sandbox department, because I had a full-time job at some point that shifted. But Rossford was the place where it was like, that was the club. And I think that's what we need to maybe change our perspective for our organizations, that like we need, in a way, to bring back that club feeling. And if that's getting together for training because that's what people want to do, awesome. If that's getting together just to, play video games, now you've at least got people at the station.
Barrett, I think,
yeah.
sorry to cut you off,
No, you're
but
good.
just add into that. I think that mentality of where like people say, I don't go to work to make friends. I think this job, that kind of mentality doesn't need to be around. I think you need to go to work and you need to make friends.
Mm-hmm.
We're not in a job where, we're cutting grass. We're depending on each other, and that's really ultimately what we should do, is just be friends, be a family.
And family can not like each other. Like, I've worked with plenty of people I don't like, and I'm sure plenty of people don't like me, but we can get along and make the day go by and still find a way to like just enjoy the day, or enjoy, a little bit. But when you come into an engine house and have people scowling at you, looking at you like, what the hell are you doing here? Especially the combination department thing blows me away sometimes, having experienced some of that, where you walk into a station and you're just like, you're looked at as this evil,
They were just talking about you.
Yeah. They were just talking about you, or they're better than you because they're the ones who are there as the career firefighters. And don't get me wrong, are there things about them that make them more experienced? Yes, absolutely. But does that mean they need to look at me like I'm a piece of crap? No, that defeats the purpose. And that's where you could have some of that leadership stuff factor into the culture of the department, but also, we need to adjust that from the bottom up. I'm going to read one more Facebook comment, then I'll get to your guys' hands. Matt Callis, hopefully saying that right. What's that?
Oh, sorry. I was kind of talking to myself. I
Oh, you're good.
was like, how did I put my hand up?
There's a huge disconnect between serving a community versus serving your community. I've felt that. I mean, my family's always worked for the city of Toledo, and so when I had an opportunity to go someplace else, that was hard for me to think about leaving a city that my family has served for cumulative, God, how long now? 20, 40, 60, 80. Whoa. Cumulative pushing 100 years between all of my family members. And I think the same on the volunteer departments where, that investment, I think we hit that really well earlier. Matt Welch.
Yes, sir.
You got your hand up. What are you thinking?
Well, we being on a volunteer department for the many years that I have, I've seen a lot of changes come and go. And one of the biggest things I've noticed, actually two things, is that the younger generation is not into yet because they're just trying to gain some roots, garner some roots, but they want, they want the glory, they want the money. So going to a volunteer department is, not going to get that for them. I also feel that one thing I noticed too is that the demands for a volunteer department are such that trying to make trainings, your continuing ed, all very important, all needed, but there are also, so many more activities that kids are involved with now that the parents, just want to, go watch their kids. And I mean, I remember my son when he was younger. I mean, I could have went to different activities every night. And, you do that, you want to show that your family comes first. And then you just kind of feel like, well, I really don't have a lot of time to devote to this anymore. So, I'm just gonna go off. And then also, I think one of the things I see it trending, especially where I'm at on the volunteer side of it, is because of the EMS way they run in the county with contract, where there's a full-time paramedic on 24/7 and a second person, how you want to do that, whether it be a full-time or part-time filling. There are people say, well, they are already there. I don't really feel that, it's worth my time going up there when they're already there to do stuff. So I'm just not going to go. That's kind of my observations.
So kind of that, the structure out of necessity kind of undermine what that volunteer side looks like in a way. Okay. Dan, your thoughts?
So, I mean, just cycling back around quick. I mean, I think there's a lot of value to hanging out at the firehouse and telling stories. And that's not just stories of 12-story high rise, fire on every floor, bunch of orphans and kittens rescued. I mean, stories about how you've messed up, because I think you learn more from those stories. I mean, people listening learn more from those stories than from 12 floors of fire. We put them all out with a single engine company. We're good to go. Just because you're being honest and open about your mistakes so they don't make them, so whoever is listening to the story, hopefully take something away from that, is a mistake that they don't have to make, later on down the road. They'll make plenty of their own, but they can teach that to someone else so they don't make those same mistakes. And I think that's where, a bunch of training happens. I remember a call where we blew the door in on the wrong house on a house fire. House fire, people trapped. That's how it came out, 4 o'clock in the morning. If I'm writing barman now, I confirm the address. Regardless of what's coming out of the house, I will confirm the address now. And I will tell people that story of ran up there a week earlier. We were doing forcible entry training. set gap force, and I ran up there and I was like, set gap force, set gap force, set gap force. Ran up there, set gap force, right up on the wrong house. And we had to go back and replace the door. And I really don't ever want to do that again. I don't want anyone else to do that, especially because it was a bad neighborhood.
I'm so disappointed. I've never heard this story before.
Oh yeah, I mean, obliterated this door. Like I went to gap the door. You know, I push that thing down. Door flies open. You know, the door goes, and I'm like, I am the greatest man in the fire service right now. Bar raised up high, and there's nothing going on in this house. And a lady's running down the hallway at me.
Like you didn't get shot.
Out.
Jeez.
Yeah, we could have been. Yeah, the neighborhood that's not known for being super friendly. Turns out, if I would have just like 90 degrees to the side, I would have saw the house of smoke coming out of it, and I would have gone and forced that
door.
Yeah.
Jinx.
Yeah. Whoops. So, you know, I mean, live and learn, and you know, but I'd rather tell that story. I mean, and just be honest, you know, like, yeah, I fucked up. You know, and just I got the big eye. That's what happened. So now I'm going to confirm the address everywhere we go. If I don't hear it on the radio, I'm going to look at my phone. And if I can't get to my phone, I'm going to ask my officer to confirm the apartment number and the building number, or just say, hey, what was the apartment number one more time? Just to make sure that when we get there, I'm going to the right place, or at least the dispatch the right place. And, you know, slow down a little bit.
Let me take that and go a direction. And Mike, I'll come right to you because I know you've got something to add after I throw this out here. So when I got on Rossford, my first volunteer job, my first getting in the fire service, I'd spent 6 years, four to 6 years, somewhere around there, in my first career. And in that career, I was kind of regarded as like a rock star in that career. So I came into the fire service, especially having in that previous career gone to fires and seen them from the outside. I thought I had some knowledge, and I came in super freaking cocky. And that was actually part of the reason I left Rossford the first time. Most of it was girlfriend wanted a specific apartment that wasn't in our jurisdiction, and I tried to stay on. But another part of it was I feel like I needed a hard reset because I came in with a chip on my shoulder thinking I was hot shit. And so coming off your comment there, Dan, I'm wondering if like, and I don't want to go generationally. I don't want to think, you know, I think that tends to be a cop out. I think we need to adjust for the way society is going to change. Like society's always been changing. We need to adjust for that and not just say, well, it's these damn kids. But has ego changed or expectations changed that have fueled some of this disconnect?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's very possible. You know, I know that some people, after they're no longer the rookie, will be afraid to do drills or be afraid to drill with their rookie because they're afraid they're not good at something. And they're afraid that, you know, even though they're not a rookie anymore and they're coaching their rookie, they're going to get exposed as, you know, maybe, you know, forceful entry is an easy one. Man, I haven't forced a door in a year. The
right
rookie's
door.
got to force doors today. Yeah, the right door, probably, hopefully. You know, the rookie's got to force doors today. So I'm just going to stand off to the side and just tell them how to do it. And then just be like, you're dumb when you don't get it. You know, oh, you can't figure it out. Instead of showing them, you know, how to do it. And that turns into a whole training issue, of course. But like I said, I think there's an issue of, you know, if you haven't done something in a while and you're not good at it.
And let me ask you this way.
And you're afraid to expose that.
Yeah. Let me ask you this way. So it used to be keep your mouth shut, kid, and just do what we tell you and follow us, which has its own issues. Because I mean,
Sure.
even down to as simple as somebody not saying something on the radio that they observed because they were told not to speak on the radio, which has been dangerous and deadly in some instances. So we had that culture before I was in the fire service. And now we have this culture where we are encouraging people to speak up, but we also have that, balance. Was that culture in a way, what do I want to say here? I guess, what's the difference there? And Mike, feel free to jump in with your thought, because I've accidentally put you on the back burner a little longer than I meant to, but I'm kind of just shooting off these thoughts.
I had two thoughts.
Yeah, go for it.
The first one is more of a comment. When I think Kevin Mcnutt was talking earlier about, growing up in the fire department, I didn't, but my wife did. You were getting major response out of her just because she remembers growing up at the department and going to the Christmases, going to picnics, doing water ball, doing, everything with her dad at my department that I'm currently working at.
And I gotta say that her dad and my dad at one point lived together and were volunteers on that department at the same time. So yeah, very, very different back then.
You were getting major response out of her. Like, she was just like, her big thing, not big thing, but I know she's mentioned before. What do they call it? The auxiliary, women's auxiliary. Oh yeah. That was another thing that's gone away. But that was just one comment. My I don't know if this is right or not, but Barrett, you said earlier, it was more of a community organization back in the day. But is it gone from a community organization to now a business?
Yeah.
As in we've changed it.
It's professional.
We've changed it into a business, so we're not just dudes hanging out, we're employees.
It's not a social club anymore. It's you're going there for the money, right? Not for everybody. Like, if I could do it, if I could do it for free, I mean, I'm wearing the reason Turner mentioned earlier, the shirt that says Progress on it. Going there and seeing the live-ins, these kids that are going through school or just want to live at a firehouse and Turner, correct me if I'm wrong. There you are. Correct me if I'm wrong, but they're not getting paid anything. I mean, maybe they're getting room and board while they go to school, but they're just going to hang out at a firehouse, and that is completely different. And that was something I actually put together a proposal for Rossford just to see if we could try it, just because it's a completely different culture when you're getting people there that are just doing it for fun. And I think, and we tried it for like 4 days. And I think we mentioned this before too. We tried setting up the day room as a bunk room. And the first day we had like 7 people that were there all hanging out. We made dinner together. This wasn't the norm at our department. Then the next night we had like 5 people. Then the next night we had like 3 people. And we successfully staffed on a voluntary basis for 4 days. And then last night there were only 2 of us, but we caught a mutual aid structure fire. And it's like, that's why we get to be, and we got to take it because we were already there. And so, yeah, like if we could all do this and it didn't matter, if we didn't need to pay bills and we didn't need to worry about, the financial side of it, what would we be doing differently than we're doing now? Would you be on the same departments? Would you have to say that answer out loud? Good answer, Mike. That's because good luck on that job interview, buddy.
No, honestly,
I know.
Honestly, I love each and every department. I love each and every department I work in. Rossford, I moved here to get on this department. I loved it so much here that I bought a house in Rossford, and and became a resident of Rossford because I love this department so much. And we've had people come and go, but we maintain that, as we, and part of my language, but we maintain that house of fuckery. We continue.
No one was supposed to know that's what HOF stood for, but yes, that is the nickname.
But I go to White House, and those guys are awesome. You go out there, and I haven't seen them in a while, but they immediately want to know how my wife is, how my kids are doing, how my daughter is, what's new, blah blah blah. I go to Providence, and like I said, I'm guaranteed to see Chad and Ashley. We catch up. Lake. Lake is a great place. No matter how often I don't see those guys that much, it's the same thing. But but I think it's just mostly the atmosphere you put out versus anything else. If you put out that, hey, we want to be friends and stuff like that, then that's what's going to change it the most. I think I've made closer friends in the few years I've been doing this than I have some lifetime friends. You know, I call guys I work with before I call guys I've known since, you know, we were children. So, I mean, it's really just how you guys, or how people or put their that. I'm trying to I brain farted the word I was going to
Yeah.
use, but portray themselves. You know, how your department, are you open doors? Are you, you know, in the summertime, are your bay doors open? And you know, that's inviting. Where if your bay doors are closed, then you know,
And you're tucked away in your bunk rooms.
yeah.
Yep.
So.
Not speaking about any department in particular. But you hit on something there too, that a phrase I like to use a lot, because, you know, the couple departments that we've worked with, specifically, I'm thinking back to Spencer, since that doesn't exist anymore. It's a good example. It got absorbed by Springfield Township, but Spencer was great because, you know, the potential for it to be a destination department. It worried me originally in Rossford when we started talking about opening it to the outside, because of exactly what we talked about earlier, and because of exactly what somebody posted on the chat earlier on Facebook, but now they might have deleted it or it disappeared. Oh no, it didn't. Maybe it did. Nope, it did. People deleted their. Oh no, it didn't. Jeez. Okay, standby caller. I got double audio going here. So the huge disconnect between serving a community versus serving your community. I was nervous about that because of, you know, Rossford is a tight knit community, and I became part of it slowly but surely. But also a place like Spencer or Rossford now, where you can hire people from the outside to work part-time. Your culture determines who you get as your part-timers. And if you make your department, if you aim to make your department a destination department, and Matt Beekes, Dave's son, Dave had to take a call, but Dave's son mentioned, you know, the idea that, especially in our area, we are a lot more likely to see younger people get on part-time and then go to a larger department or go to a different department for a full-time spot. You know, you have to take that as a badge of honor, not something like, oh, they're betraying us or they're bailing on us, because you have the potential to prepare those people in such a way. And I just saw Josh's hand pop up, so I'll get to you in 1 second. And yep. But, you know, and then if your culture and your department and all of that is something they can still balance with life and with a full-time job, or with whatever else is going on, they'll want to stay until those things don't balance out anymore. I think, and the potential, you know, looking at that destination department sort of aspect, whether, you know, I think it's something we need to consider as we're transitioning our departments from volunteer to part paid to, you know, who are we bringing in, and realizing so much of who we bring in is based on what our culture looks like. Josh.
Well, I'm going to have some rose-colored glasses here for a minute, because I don't know what. Sometimes, most of the time, you don't really know what people think of your organization as a whole when you don't really know. Obviously, I feel very fortunate that we have. It's kind of like the majors and the minors. I think we're at the upper tier of the minor leagues, but we've sent a lot of people up to the majors, and we've had some people that were in the majors get on and still want to play in the minors. And I think that's just it's an attribute to the people, because again, at the end of the day, the community benefits from all of it, in everybody's own little certain way. So I think it's been a great feather in our hat. You know, I'm speculating here a little bit, that I'm glad a lot of people were able to go to the City of Toledo Fire Department in Springfield and Bowling Green and all those places. I would have to believe that we played a certain part in that. bigger and smaller based on, everybody's persona and whatnot. And the other thing that just happened here a while ago, and I don't see this a whole lot because of my position, obviously, I'm not out on that apparatus floor a whole ton, but I'll never forget that Romeo Martinez and Dolly Morgan, who we just hired.
Mhm.
And I'll never forget talking to them one morning, and they said, "You know why we love coming to work here?" Nope. Why is that? Because even though we really don't know what we're doing because we're greener than the grass, nobody treats us like shit. And that was their words right there. Nobody treats us like shit. And I'm telling you that that's really what you're trying to instill in your place for these people from the outside coming in. I mean, I know that they don't have a lot of real world experience or young people, but that's really what you're trying to strive for, to make sure they're incorporated and feel part of the team and help them grow. And that's where Mike and Jared and a handful of others really step up to help these people, show them the way. And it's just great to see that within your own organization.
Those are our little baby brothers and sisters right there. Our little baby primitive gang members, Chief.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, they are. And but how many people, like we were just talking, they could come in here and go, well, they're from not here, or well, they don't know what the hell they're doing. Why should we show them? And that's not at all what's happened here. I don't see all that intimateness as to how all that happens on a routine basis. But Mike, that's just an attribute to you and the other people that are watching over and taking care of those people, so that they hopefully will stay there and want to stay there. And if they do go somewhere else, we've set them on a good path.
No, I agree, Chief. It's like we do over here and all the other places, or in the other places I work. It's everybody's got to start somewhere and everybody's got to learn somewhere. So if you're not teaching those the new people coming in, then your crew is only as best as its weakest link. But I think, especially with the younger generation coming in, showing them that they're not gonna be pushed to the side, but if anything, they're gonna be pushed to the front, and we have your back. That's what's gonna really change things. So that I agree with Josh there, that it's make your place a place you want to be, not a place you work at. Um, my daughter always wants to come down here and hang out with me and stuff. Like, can we go to the station? Want to go see people? So even then, make it somewhere even your family wants to come visit. And I know I usually work Thanksgivings, and most of the time, every Thanksgiving I've worked, my mom, my dad, my brother, his girlfriend, who happens to be just a coworker, but my wife and daughter, they come and have Thanksgiving dinner. So and having my family come, and then my coworkers that I'm with that day, there's some inviting on my family. My family's like, dude, this is awesome. So I think it goes just even further than the people or the employees, but make it somewhere everybody can come.
Let me ask you. Oh, go ahead, Chad.
I would say I'll echo what Mike says. It always is family first for fire department, and by family first, I mean your fire family when you're there, and then your family, of course, above that. But also echoing a text that I just got from Logan, throwing in some Star Wars in there. This is the way.
Shane posted, train people well enough so they can leave, treat them well enough so they don't want to, quoting Richard Branson. Let me ask you guys this. How many of you have been on a department that you've left or considered leaving, without naming names, left or considered leaving, that simply put, you probably wouldn't have gotten to that point if people didn't treat people like shit.
You're supposed to raise your hand or wink or nod.
You can raise your hand. You know what? Yeah, raise your hand. Let's see what happens. Or you know what? I can do a poll. Let's do a poll because then I can read it and then it's anonymous. And then for the podcast, it's kind of worthless to have everybody raise their hand when you can't see it. So I'm just going to ask the question again, and we'll say yes or no because I'm not going to type the whole question out now. All right, let's try this. Excuse me. Oh man, this is the fun of doing this stuff as we go. Where's my option here? All right. So have you been in a department where people were treating people like shit, and that's been a reason you've considered leaving or have left that department? Got 3 more votes to put in. And
raise your hand.
And possibly unrelated, Marco, I just saw that you clicked no at some point. I'm not sure if, like not in the poll, but like way earlier in the other feature on Zoom. If there's something you want to jump in with, feel free. We got 2 more votes to be counted.
Like 100%.
All right, well, we'll leave it there because it seems to be where we stop. So the end result, yes, people have considered leaving or have left departments simply because people were treating people like shit, 64%, and then no, 36% out of 11 people who voted. So how do we fix that? If it's the majority in this room, and I can tell you, I for sure have. I left one department partially because not only did people treat people like shit and make them feel like they didn't belong, but they also didn't care enough about the job. That was incredibly frustrating. And really, I didn't have the ability or the traction or the appropriate tact for the long game. One of the comments I made to Shane's earlier comment about it starts from the top down. If your officers don't show pride in the job, the traditions will be lost. I said, I agree that you at some point need the support from up top, but much more can be driven from the bottom than a lot of us realize. I think it's easier for us to bitch about stuff than it is for us to actually put in the work. It just takes a lot of effort, overcoming frustration and accepting that it's going to be frustrating, setting a good example and playing the long game for us to get there. Once we get to the point where we're frustrated or we're in a hurry to fix things, I think that's where we get that burnout stuff. And it's absolutely 100% happened to me. And that's where this stuff helps me recharge, or going to FDIC or going to training outside the area, or just bouncing it off of somebody else to realize we're all dealing with the same stuff. But that's leadership, right? Like that's part of what we're doing as leaders in our departments is we have to take the suck. This was a comment from an instructor class I was teaching. Being a leader sucks. And you know what? I still look back sometimes and wonder if I should have done a better job and fought harder instead of just leaving. But at some point, you've also got to look out for yourself and go, you know what? I can't put any more energy into this without just doing more damage to my own desire to do this job. And I need to cut the cord because I'm not making the traction, even on the long game, that I'd like to make. Or this just isn't an environment that I'm going to fit in with because it's been this way for so long, or I can't find a way, or despite trying to build it up from the bottom, we don't have that upper level support, or the people that are trying to change it might not be going about it the right way, and you get caught up in that. There's so many reasons on both sides, so many reasons to fight the fight and push from the bottom up, because I really do think that there's way more we have control of than people want to admit, because as soon as you admit it, you got to do the work. And nobody wants to do the work. by default, right? None of us want to spin our wheels. None of us want to be pissed. None of us want to be frustrated. We want it to be easy. That's human nature. We want to like click our fingers and go, I love working at this place now. Everybody who was a piece of shit before, barking orders and being jerks, is awesome now. But that's not what it's like. We have to put in the work.
Everybody is fine with defining problems. Nobody is good with coming up with solutions. And that's one of my biggest pet peeves and granted, I've been guilty of it myself, but I usually tell people, don't come to me and tell me a problem. Come tell me a problem and a probable solution. Or if it's a problem that you've been working on in your head and you can't come up with a solution, you're struggling with it, then approach me. But don't just come point out a problem to me and then expect me to be able to fix it. Okay, what would work better in that scenario that you just gave me? Let's work through this instead of just point out a problem so it gave you something to bitch about.
Logan, what's on your mind?
So there's a saying I kind of heard a few years ago, and it's a pretty simple saying, and it just goes by, just embrace the suck. And that's, I mean, it can mean different things to everybody, but it's one of those times where when you do have to have kind of that hard conversation, and you just think to yourself, you know, this conversation is going to suck. I was late to work, and, you know, my captain asked me, I've got to go talk to him, and like, this is going to suck. You just got to kind of own it and just go in there and have that conversation almost to get it done and out of the way. Or, you know, if there's just that one person that you hate working with and just, it sucks to work with them, you just got to embrace it. Like, there's nothing that you can do to change that. I mean, if they're on the schedule with you, then you're with them for that 12 or 24 hours or however many hours you're with them. Plus, by the end of the day, you might actually find something just by talking to them. You know, if you don't sit in your dorm or your room all day, you might find something at the kitchen table that you guys have in common. And then by the end of the shift, you've got another friend, and you kind of turned the situation around in your head. It's kind of a mental game almost.
Yeah, and you got a thumbs up from Chad on that one. I think you're absolutely right. I think, you know, if you go in expecting to have a shitty day, you're going to have a shitty day. And I feel like that's what a lot of people have trouble refocusing on or overcoming. And again, when we talk about all this stuff, I don't think any of us are speaking from the top of our mountain going, I've never been that way. I can't believe people have been, right? None of us are perfect. We've all had, you know what, I'm going to speak just for myself. I've had days where I don't feel like training, and I own my own company for training, and I don't like it. Like, I don't want to go out and train. I don't want to go do it. I'm annoyed. You know, I've had days where I'm frustrated as hell, and I just like throw in the towel, and I'm the asshole, not setting the good example and stuff like that. Like, it's not easy, but yeah, if you consistently try and refocus or change that mindset, you know, hopefully reducing the number of those variable days, but understanding that, you know, if you have a bad day or you're not feeling it, that's also not something to sit there and beat yourself up about, because you're still freaking human. Ben. Who may have his hand up accidentally. Oh, there he goes. Unmuted.
Hey, what's up, guys? I don't know if you can hear me well or not.
Yeah, we can.
You got me?
Yeah, we sure do. Uh-oh, can you hear us?
Hey, mate. Yeah, I can hear you. But
Oh, good, good.
You can hear me well.
Yeah, we can. You sound loud and clear from over here.
All right, awesome, man. So, like, my big thing is that's awesome. I love to hear this conversation. I was like, man, we're going to be talking about ladders today. Not the case, but it's even better stuff. Kind of what my crew and we do is we kind of have a gang mentality. And I don't mean that we're like going around like thumping people in the head and stuff like that. But, you know, we're repping what we do. Like, my main thing that we go off of is just three things, and that's family, money, and reputation. And if any of that's messed up, you really can't go through your day. Like, I'm going to have a shit person working for me, especially as a lieutenant. Like, you know, family's the biggest thing. If I got somebody like sick or not feeling good, they're going to be worried about their family, which they should be. And then of course, money makes the world go around. If I've got a buddy that's having some kind of money problem, we're not going to get that going great. And then finally, reputation. Like if I got somebody having a bad rep in the fire department, they're going to be the shittiest person ever unless they try to fix that. And that's all things as a lieutenant that I can help kind of fix and like control. So like, that's what we try to get down with. And I mean, I push the whole thing as a gang, because I mean, we could all agree that we're in the fire department. Like we're the only job in the world. Like if you're in like about to leave for work and you see your buddy out in the parking lot and he's getting in a fight with somebody, some random person, there's no question.
It'd be cooler if it was an inanimate
we're storming out there.
Sorry.
Yeah, just fighting a lamppost. But like, dude, like we're storming out there. Like if you're like a doctor or something like that, like somebody's like, oh, Jeffrey's getting beat in the parking lot. Not my business. And like after you just had a cup of coffee with the guy. But with us, there's no excuse. Like we're just jumping out there. So that's kind of like the big thing that we push on my side.
That gang mentality, I like it. It makes sense. There might be a better way to put it. Because now I'm thinking, well, we do all wear the same colors and we have the same clothes and we
Sup, buzz?
packs.
Yeah.
So West
We
Side
got
Story.
territories. We got like our district and your district. Yeah.
I'm
we
just
can
saying,
go West Side Story with it, where it's a little more.
Hey.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, like, dude. I mean,
oh, now I think we lost Ben. Son of a.
I mean, that's.
But that's
I mean,
the kind of.
I mean,
Go ahead.
dude, I'm telling you, man. That's what the fire department.
You got spot on LT from Shane Jenkins.
Like, I'm not saying we're big thugs or anything, but I mean, like, dude, I mean, I'm not saying that we're thugs or anything like that, but I mean, it's a different breed. Like, I mean, dude, we flex about numbers on the side of our trucks. You know what I mean? Like, dude, if you're in a house and you're stationed, for example, like I'm station 10 and then station 1 rolls up, guess what? I'm on 10 side. You know what I mean? Like, what's up, boys? Like, it's not like we're not, throwing hands or anything, but there's definitely pride in your department. You know what I mean? And then once again, too, is, hey man, he's a firefighter. I'm a firefighter. Like I got his back no matter what. And I think that's kind of hard for people to receive. Like, like I'm getting brand new people that like, we got a guy that was worked at Starbucks. He was barista. You know what I mean? Like, he had a flat tire one time and somebody's like, hey, what's up? Then he's like, man, I got a flat tire. He's like, oh, it sucks. See you tomorrow. You know what I mean? Unlike us, where we like break our necks, where it's like, if somebody's like, hey man, I'm building a deck tomorrow. And like, guess what everybody's doing? We're going to go build a deck tomorrow. We're going to give that dude a hand, which it's just a different mentality in the fire department. And I think if you don't have an officer that like kind of pushes your guys to be like, hey man, let's go help that dude. Like, okay. Cause it's going to follow in numbers. And my big thing is like, even as an officer, I can beat my chest and be like, I'm in charge, but I'm not in charge. I'm responsible. That's it. Like these dudes can have a mutiny at any time and be like, nah, I'm not going to do what that guy does. And now I'm responsible for their reaction.
I'm writing down a bunch of these quotes, Ben. I like that. I'm not in charge. I'm responsible.
That is a good one.
That is definitely an eye-opening thought. And I mean, it's accurate. It sure as hell is accurate.
Ben, did the guys show you the business cards they got?
No.
These dudes.
No, I haven't seen any business cards.
I walked into Firehouse and they're like, yo, LT, we just got 1,000 of these business cards in. I'm like, okay. What are you talking about? And they're like, check these out. So I'm trying to spin my camera around so y'all can see this. You just been smoked by the independent fire company. I mean, if like these dudes embrace the game, like it's us. I wouldn't say like it's us versus everybody, but like you're saying, like it's for or no one.
Who do they give those to? Every other company on scene that they beat?
Fire.
Put underneath windshield wipers
That's
and then leave on
awesome.
tabs.
And
That's awesome.
And it's incident commanders.
Oh my God.
they want to make one up for the rescue that says like, and affix call for like specializing in cutting, lifting, stabilizing. I mean, just a stupid, just a little fun card, but that just builds pride in the firehouse, and builds pride in the apparatus and what we can do. You better back it up. Like you better not get these business cards and then get beat in next week. I mean, you better get out the door quick and be able to hand these cards out. But just those fellows you were with 2 weeks ago really embraced the gang mentality that you were talking about. I thought it was pretty fun. I don't know if you'd seen the cards, but I thought it was pretty funny.
I like it, because like we have we make a joke here at Rossford. We have our primitive gang.
I'm all about it. You know what I mean?
Sorry.
Go ahead, Mike. There's a big delay on Ben's audio.
I noticed that. I had to stop and was like, "Is it a delay?" But yeah, over here in Rossford, we have our group we call the Primitive Gang. We have stickers on the side of our helmet. Somebody might have gotten us actual accountability tags. So but I think that's a good thing. It builds pride, and then you want to push that pride, and you want to show everybody this is what we can do. What can you guys do?
Speaking of pride, I know this is not a fire department, but
yeah, absolutely.
Ben, I'm so sorry that every time you start we can hear you so clearly. The only downside is it's like you're a correspondent in Iraq. We have like a 20-second satellite delay from you.
Hey, you're in a helicopter right now, circling the accident.
So Ben, go ahead and give it one more shot. And then Mike, just hold on to your thought for a second. Ben tried to jump in twice, so I feel bad for the guy. All you, Ben.
All right, I'm gonna start now. It's the wonderful stick country that I live in right now. But I think we're all hitting the nail on the head. And once again, I mean, gang might be an intimidating word, but like we're not like flexing on people. We're not like robbing and stealing and stuff like that. But like this is what I want. Like, dude, we polish our rigs to the T. Like, dude, you got guys that got station pride. Like, my guys at my house, we just made a patch, and dude, people love it. And dude, it's infectious. It's like a wildfire. And the thing is, somebody else is gonna be like, dude, I want a patch for my house. And, people start bringing pride in and everything like that. And then, nobody's gonna fight anyone. And then of course, like when we have guys that want to like the cards, I love the business cards. Like you're gonna flex that hard on somebody, you have to build up that name. Like you can't just be like, this is who we are. And like now, like when somebody says like, man, those guys are a bunch of thugs and everything like that, but are they really? Like, no, they're guys that are going to be game changers when they walk on your scene. Like they're not like, we would be arrested if we acted like that belligerent and we're like cowboys just coming in, flipping tables and like, blowing out windows and going wherever we want. Like we're coming in and we're being responsible. And the thing is when we show up, somebody's going to be happy we're there. Like we're either going to make that first in engine company nervous, like, all right, we got to get the job done, or they're going to be relieved because somebody's going to get the job done too. And now I'm done because there's probably a delay.
There's a great example of that I heard in a webinar with Don Abbott from Project Mayday, and he mentioned he has the audio, he hasn't released it yet. There's a guy who called his Mayday. He hears who the RIT team is, and then asks the incident commander to send another crew instead of that crew. And when they rescued him and got him outside, the IC walked up to him and said, hey, what was up with that? And he's like, I know those guys don't give a shit about training. I wasn't going to get out if they came in to get me. Like that's the company I want to be, is the one that he specifically asked for. Like that I could not believe. He's like, Don Abbott was talking about how they had to jump through so many hoops to get that audio released, and I still haven't seen or heard it rather yet, but but yeah, some good stuff. Mike, back to you on this non-delayed portion of the conversation.
Actually, what Ben was saying tied into what I was about to say. I know it's not fire department related, but it's still station related. We actually made different patches for each ProMedica department. It didn't go anywhere, but we each made them and we put them around the station, and it was just one of these like great team building things. I know, Barrett, you actually reviewed one of mine that I sent you years ago, but just for that moment when we were making them, it was just everyone wanted it. You know, it was one of those like, it was a good pride thing. Exactly. It was, you know, you were proud to work at South or Central or whatever, but you had a sense of ownership and a sense of pride. And I think what Ben was saying ties into what I was just saying 100%. But when you allow them to own the station and change things and make things and take ownership, pride follows.
Well, and that was kind of something that, going back to, you know, when it was you, me, Jake Hoffman, Chris Hartberg, like this whole group of people, you got a heart from Ben. This whole group of people at a department. And we like ended up making our own patch for the guys that would come to the station and hang out and set up Z-drags and set up, you know, ladder gins and go out and do extrication training or go out and climb off the tower. And it wasn't exactly embraced by everyone else. That all of a sudden we had given ourselves this label and this patch and these t-shirts that I still wear frequently. You know, but it was our source of pride knowing that we were putting something more into it, and now we had a badge of honor to show, like, hey, you know, it was a club. We had club t-shirts basically and club jackets, and like, you know, it was like members only all over again, where you didn't get that stuff unless you came in and put in the work, and it was just kind of understood. But again, you know, then it caused some butthurt elsewhere, and it wasn't supported up top, but we didn't totally care about that. You know, I think I took it a little harder that it wasn't supported, because I could see the potential. If you have, and you know,
this one?
Those are the original jackets. Don't show the full, damn it, show the full abbreviation. You piece of crap. Throwing me under the bus. Now I'm in trouble. So I don't even care. You know what? Here's the deal. If you're an officer or a chief on a department, and you've got a group of people that have that gang mentality and are pushing to better themselves and are pushing to start a club essentially, and pushing to make themselves better, and then indirectly pushing to make other people better, freaking embrace that. Don't squash that. You know, if they're doing too much or you need to control it, sure, control it, because again, you are ultimately responsible. But don't ignore it or look at it side eye or you know, well, I don't know, because you've got a group of people that are motivated as shit. And all you're going to do is either push them to take their motivation further than it probably should go, or push them right out the door. You're either going to push them toward frustration or push them out the door. Why would you not embrace having people that give a shit and that are so into it, and help them and mentor them and shape them in the way that it fits with your department? Because sometimes it doesn't fit right away, right? Sometimes that can rub people the wrong way, but that's part of your job as a leader, and part of your job as management is find a way for those people to fit and set the example for your department. But if you just kind of look the other direction, or just kind of, well, those shirts aren't really anything that really exists. Okay, great. I'm wearing a t-shirt. I could wear freaking flannel shorts, plaid shorts on runs, because it's a volunteer department. And you're going to tell me I can't wear that shirt because it calls us something that we're not? Okay, great. I don't care. Like, embrace that. Don't lose an opportunity to have people that give a shit. And no worries, Mike. Yeah, you totally threw me under the bus, but I don't care. We'll see if they watch. And it's not, you know what? Still, some of the smartest people I've worked for, some of the, you know, it's just I think that perspective gets skewed at the top and skewed at different levels. And I think, there's concerns about, is it going too far? Is it threatening, or does it make other people, feel less, and we're hearing more feedback from them? There's 100 reasons why. And there's still people that I respect that I respect greatly. I'm trying to not hit my cuss quota. There's still chiefs and officers that I respect, but it just boggles my mind that you have. I think the thing that frustrates me the most is when you have the potential and it's unrecognized. When you have the potential in your department to fuel that, to fuel the passion, to embrace it, to push it, to coddle it, and to shape it into what fits, and you just ignore it or push it away because it's inconvenient or it's too much or it's you just don't want to manage it. Embrace that. Embrace people who have the passion, because it's going to spread and it's going to make your department better. And in the end, that's better for your citizens. And that's who we're all here for. If you want a department that's going to be ready and give a crap, have people that give a crap and don't push them away. Where's Mcnutt in my soapbox? Holy crap. Ashley posted.
Is it not showing?
No, not right now. Some employers want you to fit the mold their way rather than still loving the job and be passionate in your own way with the gang you have. Some employers want you to fit the mold their way. Why the hell do we have a mold? Why on a department are we recruiting people that are going to have a mix of experience and knowledge and perspective and vision, and try and force them to fit an organization that started as a social club where people just hung out and got to know each other? That's a surefire way to get you surrounded by yes people, or people that don't care enough to stand up with their own freaking opinions and say something and push for change and push for different and push for improvement and push for our citizens, by just hiring those people or just enabling those people or just coddling those people that line up with what you're thinking. That is destructive as shit to a fire department. And I'd say to any organization, but especially a fire department where so much of our job requires us to think of different ways to do things on scene or solving problems, coming, like Kevin said, coming to you with solutions to problems. But if they're not thinking like you're thinking and you shoot down those solutions, then you never get to explore. And that's something I give Josh a bunch of credit for, is that I didn't feel that way with him. We couldn't do everything I thought of, but hell, if he wasn't going to entertain it or hear me out, Josh didn't have a mold for us. But hearing that some people do, like, what the hell do you expect to get out of it then? You're going to have a mediocre fire department at best, full of people that don't give enough of a crap for our citizens.
I'll jump in for a second.
Yeah, Tony, please.
A couple things randomly. One, I got a question for, I guess, everybody who's been on, volunteer departments their whole career. I wasn't. This is my first volunteer department. I was on a full-time job at Toledo. As far as the dynamics of the departments, it seems like now a lot of the guys, like Mikey and pick one, Logan, the guys are working 3-4 different departments. Has that always been the case, where there was this, where people from outside the community were welcome to come in, or was it, territorial? So that's a question you can address, but to kind of very loosely go over some of the things, I think, establishing station camaraderie, which we've already talked about, and you asked the question, where does that start? I think it's everybody's job, just like safety is everybody's job. I think the comment that, well, it's got to start at the top, is a little nuanced, because if the leadership at the top is knowledgeable and effective, then you're not going to have problems like you got a station bully or you got a station asshole who is allowed to dress down the rookie or have a temper tantrum or whatever other stuff goes into why people don't want to work with that guy. I know when I was on Toledo for the first 6 years or 5 years, I didn't have a bid. And expecting to get a bid to 7s, 5s, et cetera, was a 10, 13-year deal, because the guys that were there weren't going anywhere because they had that secret sauce mix going on. You were banished to 19s and 14s and the relief pool. But the relief pool was a great experience in that you got exposed to knowing everybody on your or in your platoon or shift. You at least knew everybody in your battalion in a very short amount of time. And you knew, much like that guy who said, hey, send a different RIT crew. You generally knew who was working at what station each day, and you knew what to expect at a fire or at a rescue or an extrication based on how people did stuff. I think he was a chief or an assistant chief out in Lake that used to be on Toledo, by the name of Dave Henninger, who posted something in Toledo Firefighters the other day that I wanted to share out in Providence, that it says low on calls, not on effort. Low call volume means low call volume, nothing more. We choose what kind of firefighter we want to be, not the circumstances we work in. And that was really profound to me. And I can apply it to my time on Toledo, where I was, at slower stations, where guys were like, hey, I bid over here because I don't want to do 5 drills a day. I bid over here because I don't want to make 19 runs a day. And that's okay. That's their choice. The implication, though, was I don't need to be as prepared. I don't need to be as knowledgeable. And I'm guilty of some of that out in Providence. My skill set has diminished. And I have pinned the responsibility for it on, I don't get enough practice on runs because we don't get very many runs. A 2-3 run day out there is a busy day. After the fire we had the other night, where I was so jacked to get in the engine and go and get out of the engine, you talk about we're beating some other district's engine there. I was waiting for my officer to get in the rig, so the other rig in the station wouldn't beat us out, and they beat us out anyhow. But because I was the only guy on duty that night, we happened to be doing training, so we had a house full of people. That type of camaraderie is good. My challenge to all the younger guys, I'm 50, almost 52 years old, of, hey, any of you punks or non-punks want to put your gear on faster than me, I'll buy you dinner. Let's do it. Logan, I think, tied me the other night while we were doing it, or if not beat me. I think we did 3. Chad would have to say, because he was keeping score. But to my question of how are things, because the way I see things evolving in my little bit of time, a little over 4 years out at Providence, is it seems like just now the barriers, even though guys have for a couple of years now been working multiple stations, the barriers or borders, whether physical or imagined, that used to be there, seem to be coming down, in that different departments are cross-pollinating, either with training or with dual response to something that's kind of landing in the middle of both your districts. There seems to be a lot more conversation going on, and yet there is still a whole lot of chest puffing of, oh, it's those guys. I want to be the type of firefighter that, and I want my department, and if I worked on multiple, all of them, I want to be the guy that somebody says, oh, you're working with so-and-so today. He's a good guy. Or he knows his stuff. You'll be safe. I don't want to be the guy where you're walking up to the new person saying, be careful with so-and-so because they're a hothead, or they get overexcited, or they, go off track in the middle of a assessment and start, discussing genealogy or, her doll collection, whatever. We know who the good guys are and we know who the bad guys are. I want the department that I work on and myself to have the reputation of that's a solid group. That's a solid crew. That guy's on today. You'll be fine. There's days where we know who's working at White House or who's working at Swanton, who's riding the ALS rates. And sometimes you're like, ah, shit, I'm kind of on the fence on this patient. I'm an EMTB. Do I want to do a, 15, 20-minute transport, or do I call? I shouldn't have to go because this guy's going to be a dick or make me feel stupid or say, well, why didn't you do this? I'm calling because I think I need help. So if something's lacking in my performance, pull me aside later and say, hey, what were you struggling with? Or don't just, stand in the doorway and not lay hands on the patient so you can turn around and walk out. That's, kind of random, kind of non-specific, but that's my soapbox.
Barrett, I just wanted to add to your comment about the molding thing. And I've learned just a couple quick things in my time here. And one is there's always somebody smarter than you. And the minute you think that you're the smartest guy in the room, you're fooling yourself. And number two, you served as an acting officer for a while. And my whole philosophy is if you are in a position of being in charge or you're an officer there, then I expect you to do officer shit. I shouldn't have to micromanage or again, I thought I gave everybody, and I still do give everybody great leeway to perform their duty, whether it's looking up a new piece of equipment or phone call on a Saturday morning. I got 4 guys that want to go drill. Will you pay them? Or can we take an engine, or can we go do whatever? You gotta break that out, and you gotta let people in those positions do what they're supposed to do, and never be afraid to listen to somebody bringing you an idea, because you're just fooling yourself if you think you got it all under control.
And yet a lot of people are out there fooling themselves. That's the crazy part. Going back to Ashley's comment on Facebook, that don't fit the mold, and not to focus on the problem, but how do we solve that? What is the solution to the people that don't see that? Hopefully they hear stories like, from departments where people in the command staff are humble enough to say, yep, I didn't think of it, but it worked out really well. Goes to show you should listen to your people. But I think on the other hand, some people are just going to be set in their ways. And Ashley posted, Chief, talking to you, Josh, you don't micromanage, which is a great thing about having you as a leader. And another person that works in multiple departments and has seen multiple perspectives, it's just how do you, and I was going to say, how do you go to your chief and say, hey, what you're doing is detrimental? But I've done that at one of my departments. I
think I listened to that.
Oh God, I wasn't even talking about you, but yeah, we've had some blunt conversations, and that was the fun part about being the union president, and people thinking that we were so buddy that I would never tell you anything was going wrong, when in reality, I'm only going to tell you in private instead of like calling you out in front of everyone, because that's how that stuff should work. But yeah, having those open and honest conversations, again, I think that the common thread we have to bring to the table is, if you're that person who wants to go to the chief and say, listen, I think you're stepping on people's toes in terms of letting them be passionate and be happy to be here, the common thread has to be what's the best thing for the citizens, because how the hell do you argue with that? And if you're arguing with that as a fire chief or as a command officer, what the hell are you doing in the fire service? GTFO, there's no room for you. Sorry. Whatever your reason is for having bars or bugles or whatever, is not good enough if you can't see it from the perspective of what's the best thing for our citizens. I'll be super freaking blunt with this. If you're not thinking of the citizens first, you're not welcome in my fire service. So peace out, homie. I have no use for you. But if you're somebody pushing for that change, it has to be for that reason, right? It can't be because, well, we've trained so much on this, we should be the ones going on this run. Well, does that make the most sense for the citizens? If it doesn't, then you need another angle. And so it does go both ways that, we have to bring the right perspective to the table. And at the end of the day, that's the citizens. Matt Welch.
Yeah, I was just going to say that's when I went up to the neighboring department. I worked part-time part-time on now, basically. It's a little more than part-time, but anyways, when I first went up there, is kind of, being on a department for 20 years and then going up to another department, seeing how things kind of run. And it really is essence, even though, yes, I'm getting paid for shift work, but it's still volunteer. It was, just kind of weird. And, I told him when I got up there in one of the meetings we had, just because there's been some change on everything else. I said, one of the reason I came up here was, number one, I won't deny it, that, the shift money always helps. There's no question about that. But I remember what this department used to be like, and I think we can get back to that, and I'd like to help that. But also, we also need to realize, all of us, why did we get into this business? Was it to help people, or was it to see how far you could go to get that color to helmet, or be whatever? And I've been kind of trying to do that, and I've even said to a few people in the last few months up there also that they've said, well, I'd be up here more if so and so wasn't here, or I don't like working with so and so, or yes, that is where some people need to step in, kind of talk, work out your differences. I always tell them, I said, well, there's people that I work with that I wouldn't go have a beer after shift with, but when we're working and we're there, we're there to do a job and to help people out. And I said, when you're telling me that you don't want to work, or you would show up more if so-and-so wasn't here, or whatever, that just goes to show me that you're not doing it for the community, to help the community out. It's more for your own selfish reasons. And some people, kind of say, well, yeah, but other people have said, you don't know what you're talking about. So,
and I'll admit, I've been that guy more than once or twice where there's been a conflict. And I'll say the line for me was when it escalated to the point of being detrimental to patient care or a crew. And I opted, if I could be on a different rig, I would be on a different rig, but I still couldn't control the actions of that other person. And that was a tough situation to be in. And that, I don't think that's the norm. I think most of it is just the people not wanting to be friendly enough together. But I also think that there's a level of, and I hate to, I hate to say this, but if it's somebody that's detrimental to patient care on a regular basis, you should probably also try and figure out a way to get rid of them, because that's not for the citizens, right? I know, God forbid I say something like that, but like realistically, what the hell are you supposed to do? If that person consistently makes decisions or, picks and chooses who they like to work with, and looking at it from an officer perspective, this person's an officer and now they're making decisions that are detrimental to the mission because of the people they don't get along with. Again, they've got no business being there. And I'm not going to stand by while they make a crappy decision that puts a citizen in jeopardy because they've got problems with people and they can't be personable and work them out. So if I can't solve the problem after trying over and over and over, I'm just going to work on getting them out, because that's the best thing for the citizens. I'll shred my union card. I'm sorry. This wasn't a union shot. Well, not exactly.
And and tying all this in, I just had a thought just popped in my head, and from a experience was going up there, doing and learning some stuff. And I've come to the point where I've been very fortunate, in my family life. My kids are pretty much, grown on their own for the most part. And, so I have a little more free time and all that. But some people we're going to have kind of been upset with me because, I've gone on to, take the Fire Officer 1 class. I just passed my state inspector's
Nice.
test.
Congrats. Hell yeah.
Thank you. Those kind of things are like, well, you're just doing this, you want to show people up, or, the chief wanted you to take them. We tried to take them. I said, no, I did it because, I want to better myself and, learn new stuff. So I think that kind of, goes into tying in with the whole, we started out tonight with the whole volunteer thing of getting not. Yes, it's the people around you, but I think it also comes from your own heart, your own ambition, what you want to do, because there's always something you can do to make yourself better within that fire service. And maybe, just like I said, I was doing that, might just lead somebody else to do that. You never know.
Mike, did we hit all the questions you wanted to hit on? Did we unravel anything for you?
Yeah.
It's the questions have been answered. It's a lot of things. It can't be narrowed down to just one. It can be an individual issue. It can be a department issue. It can be a community issue. It doesn't necessarily point blame or point fingers. And if people take it personally, then maybe they need a self-reflection. But it's all been great information and great questions and answers. But I'm glad to see maybe I'm not necessarily alone on some things and some ideas.
You're definitely not alone, that's for sure.
And it's not necessarily something that can be fixed overnight. I mean, it's.
But we're at the kitchen table, Kevin. We're supposed to fix everything. Next, we're talking about world hunger if we got time.
To go along the lines with your kitchen table, it's the same predicament as always. We got this giant elephant. How do we eat it? Well, one bite at a time.
Mm-hmm.
So now we've identified the problems. Now we have to identify which one of the problems we're going to start chipping at, so we can start. Okay, mark that one off the list. What can we do to progress and make it better?
Thanks for offending the vegans.
No problem. That's what I'm here for.
And yeah, the long game, right? Well,
it has to be.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. How many other places have a quote that's 150 years of tradition unimpeded by progress? I mean, it's not going to happen overnight. We know this.
Mm-hmm.
And back to Eurohelmet.
And I'll say too, or I'll ask, because I know my answer because I've done it. But is there a point where in your guys' minds that at some point you just hit that line of, you know what, this isn't the environment I want to be in? Is that okay too? Like, does that make you a piece of crap for, and no offense taken in advance, but does that make you a piece of crap because you weren't willing to put in the work to make improvements to that organization?
Well, I'll chime in again. I would say it depends.
Oh, he came to chime in and then his internet cut out.
What is am I cutting out?
You're good now. Try it again. If you could start from the beginning. Sorry about that, Tony.
That's okay. It's my shitty internet. So, it goes back to what's
Oh,
station, what's encouraged at the station. If you got to, it to me, you got to have principles before personalities. And if that's not done in that order, you're screwing up. If things got bad enough where you gave your best effort and polite and the whole 9 yards, and things were just never going to change, then I probably would go elsewhere. We've got a little bit of latitude, and everybody's pretty much open to suggestion where I'm at now. So it seems to work out pretty well. But I've heard stuff about departments that there's a couple people I know at one particular that I wouldn't use their bathroom just because I wouldn't want to own. So.
And I got a text from somebody who will remain anonymous. But the text says, I'm at that point right now with my department, changing the department name out. It's not worth my mental well-being anymore to think it will get better. That sucks. And following up to that, I didn't even text this person back yet, but following up to that, it's the department this person wants to be on and wants to care about, and it feels like hell. That sucks. And there's no way, right?
it's not me, but I will say I know that feeling and I've been there, and whoever that is not alone.
Ditto. And also, is it possible, and maybe I'm leaning on like Chief Francis, Captain Mcnutt, Scott, with your experience too, is it possible for command to not know that people feel that way in their own organization?
Yes, to an extent, because things are neutered when they come to us.
Okay, I love that. But yeah, okay.
But they are. I mean, I see some things that like Jason and Josh don't necessarily see just because, well, they're the Chiefs and I'm the lonely captain. And we'll go over and we'll chit chat and, I'll pick up some things. But in the end, I'm still an officer. I'm not their shift leader, but I'm still a captain.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still a supervisor of theirs. So there's certain stuff that doesn't get released to me. We had a meeting just recently with the different shift supervisors talking about different things, and a whole lot of things came to light that I had never even heard about. And I figured myself as being very in tune with what was going on inside my department. And it was like, wow, I never saw that. And wow, I never saw that. And it's because, well, once again, it's firefighter mentality of, we take care of our shit and we move forward. But it was very eye-opening because I thought I had a pretty good handle on things. And I'm like, that really opened my eyes to things that I don't necessarily see. Because the other flip side of that is Josh, Jason, and myself, we don't live at that station. I've said this before. I'm that weird uncle. I'm not part of, I'm not.
And that's not an analogy. Sorry.
If you want, I can walk around the house to my niece and nephew are both here right now, so they can really tell you. But seriously, like I'm that kind of outside family. I'm family, but I don't live there, and that is difference and something I missed between my two jobs. Before, when I worked a 24-hour shift, I had my shift family. I knew who I was working with, knew how things were going. We shared a lot of stuff together, but that even took time. It was one of those, like you kind of were just talking about, of the different shift fiascos. Like, we don't like this guy. We don't do things with this. When I first started my shift, we didn't eat together. And it was kind of, we slowly started encouraging that from the bottom. We became a really tight bonded shift who, still to this day, I haven't worked there in 2 years and I can still pick up the phone and just shoot the shit with the guys, or, hey, I need a hand, and they'll be here. But I don't see that perspective anymore. Now my perspective is I'm there during the day, and, when everybody kind of relaxes, the Chiefs have gone home and stuff like that, I'm not there. I'm part of admin staff. I don't see it. So all the little things are all taken care of either before I get in or after I leave. So it's a weird perspective.
And that's why I asked, because I don't have that perspective, and I'm glad to know that's the case. So let me follow it up with this and this, and I'll call on you after you do it. But Kevin, I'll start with you, and then anybody else, raise your hand if you have advice for that person that you want to share from your own experiences, from your perspective that might be different. Being on a department that feels like hell, and you feel like you're spinning your wheels and you're ready to call it quits, even though that's the last thing you want to do. Where does this person go from there? Not a lot of parts missing, right? We don't know what else has already happened, but what advice?
And not knowing who the person is or what the department is.
Yeah.
Have they addressed the issues with their personnel, or try to get a team together to kind of work on it. Not necessarily go to the chief and tell him, look, this is where you're screwing up and this is what we need to do. But kind of even the bottom of the top approach. Hey, you got a few guys on your side that want to change the department. Hey, let's get together and start working through this issue. Or you've tried this and the chief keeps stifling it and you're just stuck. Then you're frustrated, and I don't have good advice on that side, because in the end, ultimately, the chief is the boss.
Mm-hmm.
But there again, address it with the chief if it's to that point too.
And it has been addressed. I just got that text.
Okay.
So it's been addressed, and the awareness is potentially there. And Chad, were you going to say something? And then I'll get to Jason.
I'd just like to say that I've been in the boat, and that change has happened and is continually happening.
So you've waited it out and seen the change.
Right.
So the advice is there's still a chance. There's still it's 1 in a million.
There's a 1 in a million chance. Yes, there's
So
always still a chance for something.
Yeah.
As vague as that sounds.
No, and let me just follow it up with one more text. Again, this person just wants to be anonymous for obvious reasons. That's the only reason I'm reading it instead of this person sharing on their own. Some people understand and agree and don't get why it's happening. Others in the organization think that this person's being extreme. That sounds pretty normal, right? Because some people, just the difference of perspectives, some people aren't going to see the same things or see, like I said, one of my most frustrating things is when leaders in a department don't see the same potential that I see. It's a very different set of perspectives. So there's definitely going to be that mix there. And that is frustrating when you want other people to see it too. Jason, your thoughts?
I was gonna say, I was gonna talk, but Kevin pretty much said it all. But it's communication. Communication is key. I mean, there's lack of communication everywhere. You just need to be open-minded. Granted, I mean, chief officers and captain level people might not want to hear everything because they got their own stuff that they want to do day to day. And most of the stuff that you do is reactive anyways. I mean, you can't really be proactive when you're reactive, taking care of issues. But the number one thing is be glad that you have issues, because if you didn't have issues and you weren't brought to the attention of having issues, then that becomes a trust issue too.
So as long as your people are coming to you with problems, and hopefully problems with solutions, take that as a good thing.
Correct. Yep.
Awesome. And that, absolutely. I mean, yeah, as soon as you lose that, if I felt like I couldn't go to somebody and tell them what I thought, and I did get to that point with that one chief who will remain nameless, that I told him, I'm like, if you micromanage us at the station, people are going to second guess themselves on calls, and they're not going to make the right decision for our citizens. That's a huge problem. And if you're making them so scared about how they wash the toilet, they're going to wonder whether or not they should start that IV. And that's insane.
And kind of jump in with what Jason said. If you think your department's perfect and you don't have any problems, you have so many problems that have never been addressed.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a fact. Like, every department is going to have problems, whether they're major or minor. And if you're not hearing about them, your department is not flowing together because nobody's sharing anything at that point.
So if you think you have a perfect department and we never have any problems, start digging, because you have so many problems you have not even touched. There's something going on somewhere.
Matt?
I agree 100%. If you got nothing but yes people around you telling you yes and agreeing with you all the time, you got the wrong people around.
Yes, you're absolutely right, Tony. Oh shit. Get it? Yes. Okay, never mind. Matt.
I mean,
oh, sorry, Matt. Matt, you have your hand up. Is that intentional?
Yeah, I was just gonna
Okay.
say
Sorry.
for that person said, and I know that things are, you know, in a sense different between full-time departments versus part-time volunteer because of contract stuff, everything else. But I would say that person, keep being them, keep doing what they want to do.
Hell yeah.
And I've told this to a few people on the department up north that I'm with. I said, just hang in there, hang with me. We'll get this righted. If there's truly a problem and it's been addressed, I think it'll work itself out. That person who is the problem, or whatever it is, will end up, dooming themselves in, or hopefully it's something that doesn't get anybody hurt.
Yeah.
But I think he just needs to, stay true to themselves, who they are, do their job, stick with. I guess, ultimately we don't know all the circumstances, and it's not our not our business to, but just stay with it, stay who they are.
And I'll throw in off of that. I'll kind of paraphrase from both Ben, who was on earlier, and my brother. First of all, I think my suggestion would be find your gang, find that group of people that does get it, and surround yourself with those people. And again, it can be hard when the person in charge of your department doesn't see things the way you'd hope they would see them. But if you can find people that do, that's going to make it at least easier. And you can push for change as a group. Like Kevin said, get a group together. The one-on-one thing isn't going to be the same as, hearing the different perspective or the different way to say something, or maybe you can get somebody who sees it that does have your chief's ear more than somebody else. And that's where finding your gang is hugely beneficial that way. And then my brother's advice to a new rookie is, I'm jotting that down because I really want to explore that some more, maybe next time. But the other advice was, don't worry about what happens in the corner office. Don't worry about what happens, why people are mad at the chief, why people are mad that somebody's, they spent money on this, or they're not getting that, or they're not, we don't have the right equipment or whatever. It's like, just find what makes it fun and do that. And if it's not fun, then don't hang around after the call. If it's not fun to do that, but if it is fun and it's your gang that's there, hang out and enjoy that and embrace that as much as you can. And I think my last piece of advice that's my own is, if it is interfering that much with your own life, that it is just that frustrating and it's not worth the wait, there's no shame in saying, you know what, I can't do it. But every time I've done that, I've had that conversation with that leadership and explained, hey, this isn't the organization I think I can fit in anymore, and here's why. Because then at least, if I've already tried, then at least they know I'm on my way out the door. And there's one more chance for them to hear that perspective, and maybe it'll help the organization in the long run, even if it didn't help me stay. But people change, circumstances change, leadership changes. There's always that chance that you can help influence that in the long run. So
if it's a shitty environment, you're still learning. You every day, no matter who I work with, I either see an example of the firefighter I want to be or the firefighter I don't want to be. I'm getting taught a lesson every day.
Absolutely.
Sorry to interrupt you.
No, absolutely. And you know what? One of the departments that I left, I have an entire list still somewhere. I think it's in my training notes and I was gonna frame it. If whenever someday down the road when I'm in a position like that, it was reasons why I didn't want to stay on that department, why I didn't want to be part of that organization. I wrote those out because I was so frustrated and just exhausted, spinning my wheels. And I saved it because I didn't want to lose sight of that should I ever be the person that's causing someone else to feel that way. Because I learned the wrong way from people that were doing a lot of things right, just not the things that made it an environment I wanted to be part of. Chief Francis, and then we'll wrap things up.
Another perspective too could be the upper manager or chief level person that they have a problem with doesn't know how to handle the conflict itself. They're just used to maybe doing the day-to-day operations that they're good at, but they're not a people person.
Mm-hmm. God, how do you fix that?
It's tough. I guess there's really no answer to it.
Mm-hmm.
You just got to be open.
Just making sure you didn't have like the key to the whole solution. That'd be amazing.
No.
I don't know what you're hiding
because
over there. No, you're
the
right.
non-people personality is still a personality. So I mean, there's not one way to come about that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's still going to be up to the individual. So I mean, there is no key to that.
Damn it, but that'd be so much easier.
Well, if you could write it down on a Post-it note, stick it over there on your desk.
I have
We'll figure it
so
out.
many Post-it notes here now. I wish I could show you someday.
Just got to figure out how to spell people first.
PPL. Every
there you
time
go.
I use it in text message. Barrett, I do have one little story I'd like to throw out there.
Sure.
And it was kind of, somebody hit on it earlier. You know, if you go into work and you want to have a shitty day, you're going to have a shitty day. I guarantee you can make it that way. And I agree 100% with that, because looking at us from my time deploying and stuff like that, the biggest advice I would give younger ones when they come in and they're talking about what to expect on a deployment is your deployment's going to be what you make of it. You can go and have a really shitty time if you want to have a really shitty time, or you can go to a really shitty spot and have a great time because you had the open mindset to go. My very first deployment going to Iraq, I had a shitty mindset initially before I left because a lot of things last minute were changing. Our fire chief that was originally supposed to be going with us got pulled off the trip. The guy who was supposed to be replacing him got pulled off the trip. Now I have a fire chief coming from a different base. I'm also, when we're getting there, we're meeting up with 2 other departments from 2 other states. Don't know any of these people. I'm fairly new. You know, how are we all going to blend together? And I was really fretting about it. And somebody went to me and said, look, your deployment's going to be whatever you make of it. That fire chief's going to be whatever you make of it. But don't go in with the mindset of he's going to be an asshole, judging by what other people have told you. Go in with an open mind and see how that individual is and see where it goes from there. And I had a great time. I did really well with that fire chief. And as a matter of fact, he's the one who got me in touch with Fort Wayne's base and got me my first career position in firefighting.
Nice. Damn.
So once again, you can make anything the way you want it to be. It's your mindset when you step in and say, I'm here to do my job.
Mm-hmm.
I'm off my soapbox now.
Ah, there it is. Mindset's not easy. Change, improvement, ideas, communication isn't easy. None of this stuff is easy. But I think the one common thread we all hit was it's worth it. And it's just sticking with it and finding a way to make it work for you, to make it work for your organization, to hopefully make it work for your citizens. And I just texted that person to ask if it helped, and they said it did. So we all need the people to lean on too, and know who those people are. The cool part is the people whose phone numbers I have in this group right now, I know I can call you. I know I can text you when I'm spinning my wheels and frustrated as hell, or we just hang out on Sunday nights and talk and relate to each other's problems. That's a really cool thing that we get to do. And we were going to hit a couple other topics tonight, but we're going to hit those next time. And we may revisit this as well, because I think we kind of opened a door. And I think there's more we can talk about and maybe get into specifics. I kind of want to talk about families and how we bring those into the volunteer world and some things that I hadn't considered before. And so we'll hit that next week. Yeah, Matt, go ahead.
I just want to know before we wrap all this
Yeah.
up, if Chad got to use his new helmet the other night at the fire and how did it work?
Can you give us the Spark Notes version, Chad?
I got asked where F-16 was. I asked where Goose was. Asked where the Space Force base was. That was about it. But
Where'd you park your helicopter?
yeah, where I parked a helicopter.
Any of it real actual shittiness, or was it just all joshing around?
I don't think anybody was really shitty. A couple of people said I wouldn't be caught dead with that on my head and yada yada yada. But
okay.
I had people ask me where Seaside Command was, and I just told them look for the guy with the red penis helmet. And they're like, "All right, we know where he's at."
No, Chad, I'm just with you on that, and I'm intrigued by the helmet. I wanna try one on and try to get one leg, and I've already been given crap at my department about it, but I just think it's something cool, something different.
Yeah. Definitely different. I'm still not 100% sold.
And you didn't get to use it interior this time, right? Because you were on the Charlie side. Okay.
No.
All right. So we'll hold out hope that you heal quickly, you're back on both feet, and you can get inside a building with that thing and tell us how that goes. So we'll get the follow-up from you. Or if you're healing while there's a training burn going on, I'll just borrow the helmet I'll rent it from you to recoup some of your losses.
Just invite me to the training beard.
But if you're on both feet, otherwise we're gonna have to like scoot you around. But yes,
I'll bring a knee scooter and we'll do it that way.
One of those 4-wheel drive ones. All right, so that'll wrap it up for tonight. Matt, thank you for bringing up the fact that we did need that update before we left. So next week we'll talk more about passion. We're going to talk about a term that gets thrown around a lot that I was hoping we'd get to tonight, but this topic was just too good to let go and move on. But I want to talk about this idea that people are building these death traps and they don't care about us firefighters when they're building their houses. I'll get on my soapbox with that. And then this is probably something that's going to get pushed back after that, because I feel like we're going to have a whole can of worms discussion. But how you expect firefighters to be role models in this crazy, tumultuous world of social media we're in right now. Just some random thoughts, some kitchen table stuff we'll talk about starting next Sunday. So thank you guys all for being here. As always, I think this kind of really hit a core of a common thing that a lot of us deal with and can be frustrating, and I think can turn people off from the fire service. So thank you guys for working on your own organizations and for being there for other people to help them through the same kind of challenges. So you guys are awesome. It makes me proud to know you guys and to have you guys come in here every week to shoot the shit and to talk shop and, figure out ways that we can make the fire service better. So yeah, and Mike, thank you for bringing up the idea for the topic. I mean, look at how long we could talk about it for, and we could go on and on. So many variables and so many things. No easy fix, but a lot of things we can learn from each other on fixes for the long run. So thank you guys so much for being here. Any final thoughts before we go?
Yeah, Barrett, since you don't like to comment on my Facebook postings on all the pictures you post, is that going to be your new job, the driver of the Wienermobile?
You know what? I saw that and I didn't comment on it because I was just so excited about it. But we went up to the Henry Ford Museum yesterday, and they had the Wienermobile there, and then the Fokker plane. I may or may not be pronouncing that correctly, but yes, I would like to, if I could apply to be the new
I can see you doing that
driver or fly a Fokker. I wouldn't mind flying a Fokker if I could be a pilot. So all potentials out there. I've got my whole life ahead of me. So
Would it be a wiener driver or wiener operator?
Ooh, I don't
Wiener
know.
engineer.
A wiener wheelman?
A
Wiener wheeler?
A wiener relocation specialist. God, I just stumbled on that one.
And I wonder how many wiener riders you could fit in the back. Anyway, we'll see you next week. Love you all.
Flipped out. What was the word in between wiener and back?
And and the great part about this too is every week I'm wondering if this is the last one. If this is when I get the phone call and go, you know what? You really got to stop doing those. So it's really fun to be kept on my toes. We'll see you guys next Sunday.
See ya.